Hey guys, and welcome back to Castle Crush, and today we are going to be playing with an epic cards deck here versus a legendary cards deck, and you can see the two decks on the screen right now, and I do switch up the epic cards deck a bit because there's obviously more options, but this seemed like a pretty epic challenge idea. So the legendary cards deck is of course all the legendaries, and then I had to pick two extra cards, so I picked the extra crystal simply because it's a card that helps with this deck since there's a number of higher mana cards in the all legendaries deck, and I then tested it through a bunch of matches. Now I'm sure I'm going to get some people who will feel like this wasn't really the best way to do this because I had to play against myself. And it's kind of hard to have a good strategy playing against yourself in real time. So yeah, I get that part. But it's still interesting, and I still feel like I got an idea of which, legendary or epics can be better and in what strategies they can be better. Not that there's that many strategies for the legendaries, but for the epics, there are actually a number of different deck strategies that can be employed. And the one we started with here was more of a balanced deck, and you'll see as this challenge goes on, I end up switching to using a rushing deck for the epic cards, or maybe actually I think I may have started with a rushing deck even. And what I found was, of course, the rushing deck is much more effective for the balanced cards, the epic cards, than the balanced deck is. And the reason for that is just because the Standard Bearer is such a powerful card with its ability. And also the fact that the Epic Cards deck has access to some cards that work well for rushing, such as the Reaper. Although the Reaper admittedly is hard to pull off without protection, and I didn't feel like I really wanted to put protection in necessarily, but I could have done that. So, quite interesting here because the Legendary Cards deck has several cards that would be considered, like rushing sorts of cards as well. And I was trying to take advantage of the metamorph too for the Epic Cards deck. There are a number of good cards on both sides of this challenge, which kind of made it really interesting. And a lot of matches I didn't even really get to some of the later game cards, sadly, like the Dragon, for example. And usually if I did, then it was kind of over for my ult because the epic cards were not going to win against the Dragon. And basically, if the Legendary Cards deck got beyond about the mid-game, it was going to win because of the Dragon, because of the Necromancer, because of the Black Witch. The Black Witch was even pretty epic. Pretty epic. It was pretty awesome in the mid-game as well sometimes. So, you can see here in this match, the legendary cards were kind of just crushing the epic push at first there, doing a lot of initial damage. The Jester used to be a good card. These days, I'd say it's really not that great of a card. Depends what your circumstances are. I mostly used it for this deck because I wanted an earlier game card I could play. And you'll notice that Boneyard is not being used by the Epic Cards deck. And the reason for that is that I actually don't have Boneyard on that character. So I used the cards that I had, and Boneyard was not one of them, sadly. So didn't really get used. So, and because of that, I kind of bailed on the Spectre strategy. I could have tried a Boneyard and Spectre and Skull King deck, but I decided to bail on that. I mean, it's significantly weaker without the Skull Queen, though. So there was that kind of idea going through my head as well, that, without the Skull Queen, do I even really bother with a skeleton deck? Even if I have access to the Spectre and the Skull King? But what I ended up largely finding was that specifically against the all legendary cards deck, the metamorph was a better route to go than doing a skeleton deck. But see, this is what I mean, how I can kind of cheat against myself because I know the strategy that the other deck has to employ, especially the one that the legendary one has to employ. So because I knew that the legendary deck wasn't going to have any skeletons, it made the metamorph much more valuable, and therefore I basically decided to ditch the skeletons after a while and just simply go with a metamorph rushing deck. The Unchained Demon was pretty interesting, but kind of a problem because I didn't have Giant Growth, or Nature Heal, or Rage. So that made it kind of not really as useful and more of just a card that would kind of mess up matches because I'd be stuck with it out there, and because I know what my other deck strategy is, I could literally just leave it out there, play around the Unchained Demon, and just completely restrict my epic deck from doing anything. So because of that, I tried to almost quite often either use the Unchained Demon at like halfway across the board, or I tried to use it as a direct counter to the Hollow Knight. And those are like the two circumstances. There you can see again the Black Witch doing work on that Unchained Demon. And see, I made an early push there with the Epic Cards deck, but, you know, wasn't really quite able to make it happen. Although, I mean, again, I was trying here. This match I tried pretty good, but it just wasn't really quite enough. It was hard to focus sometimes on both. It was hard to focus on both deck strategies, so I'm thinking in the future, I mean, maybe I should use a partner for this particular challenge, but I had to play a lot of matches, and I don't necessarily have too many partners who want to play a ton of matches with me all the time, I guess, so I kind of just tried my best to play both sides, and like I said, I mean, both sides had their pros and cons. The legendary side has some very strong cards, but overall, the epic side can actually have a better strategy, in my opinion. I mean, really, it has a better strategy with the rushing deck, especially if I actually play to the advantages of the rushing deck. As you can see there, finishing off my main again to win it for the epic cards. And the Genie was helpful. The Genie was actually quite helpful. But it meant I really had to go for the rushing deck, and I couldn't really mess around in terms of trying to counter my opponent too much. I had to just really go for the win, and I think I only sort of got into that mode as towards the end of the challenge, as you can see here. But they go for the Black Witch, and yeah, sort of. Actually, that ended up not working out well for my main character. And then I flipped the Hollow Knight with the Unchained Demon, again finding a good use for it there. And then again using the Standard Bearer. This match I was playing to win a little bit more. Valk trying to do some work, but you can see I'm in trouble here because I don't really have... I really needed to go for that dragon, and I didn't go for it. I may have even used a Mana Ritual on like the Skull Queen or something, and that messed me up in that match for sure. If I could have pulled the dragon, might have gotten that one. But you can see the rushing strategy is actually very powerful, obviously, but it definitely is the main thing that holds the epic cards in this challenge. And honestly, if I were to play this on a consistent basis against an actual real-life opponent, I think the epic cards deck would win more than the legendaries would. That might be a controversial opinion, but I think the rushing deck is just too powerful on a more consistent basis. Although it does depend on very heavily on whether the legendary deck gets to use the extra crystal. If the legendary deck can't use the extra crystal and had to use some other card, then the advantage is way in favor of the epic cards. So, I mean, there you have it, I would say. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching that challenge a little bit there. It was sort of a back and forth type of ordeal there. And I think both decks at the end of the day have their pros and cons. The legendary cards are very strong, but they don't have the best synergy together, especially for attacking in the early to mid game. They're not that strong. I mean, they have a few strategies, but it's not really that powerful. A coordinated strategy can usually get past that. And it mostly ends up relying on cards like the Black Witch to play defensively, and, you know, playing cards like the Dark Angel or the Shaman very strategically. And then for the epic cards deck, definitely relies on just playing a good rushing strategy and hoping that your opponent doesn't have counters. So that's going to do it for this video. So leave a like if you enjoy. Let me know what you thought about this video in the comments and what other types of content I should create. Maybe subscribe if you're new to my channel. And thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned for more videos.